Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm really happy to see you student for our meeting today. And then today we will focus on ecosystem approach to the fisheries management. One interesting topic actually, and then really need our attention more because talking about the fisheries management is one thing that's really important for Indonesia because as we already know, Indonesia has or takes some benefits goes to the ocean, so we need more and more also efforts in order to apply the fisheries management, and then of course we need the ecosystem approach. That's one thing that we would like to discuss for this morning. Okay, related to the ecosystem approach of fisheries management, we will start our discussion for this morning goes to the key principle of the ecosystem approach of fisheries management. The first principle, what we call the good governance. The second principle, what we call the appropriate scale. The third principle is increased participation. The fourth principle is multiple objectives. The fifth is the cooperation and coordination. The sixth principle, adaptive management. And the last principle of the ecosystem approach of fisheries management called as the precautionary principle. So if we see those principles, students, actually those principles are not new. So it means in terms of the implementation, those principles actually already familiar for some countries. So that's why in terms of the principle of the ecosystem approaches for the fisheries management, it can be found out in FAO codes of conduct for responsible fisheries. This is, as we already know, all the FAO members countries agree to the Codes of Conduct of Responsible Fisheries, CCRF, in 1995. Okay, let's try to exercise some principle I already mentioned before for our meeting today. I do hope that we can dealing with all this principle, but we try to do our best to explain one, two, or three principle as the part of our outline lectures for today. Good governance as the first principle. What the idea of the good governance actually? If we see in the area of the fisheries management, so good governance mean about consensus. So there should be consensus between all the stakeholders. The second one, participatory. Participatory means that we need community input goes to the good governance. So not only being responsible for the government only, but also getting or community can participate. The third one about the accountable and then transparent, responsive, equitable, and inclusive as part of the good governance as we already announced. The second principle goes to the appropriate scales in terms of the uh, fisheries management. There are four dimensions if we discuss related to the appropriate scales. One dimension, what we call ecological scales. The second, social economic scale. The third, political or governance scales. And the last one, temporal scales. What does it mean, or why those dimensions are really important to the fisheries management? Because when we talk about fisheries management, we do not talking only in empowerment or ecological side, but there are so many dimensions can influence when we would like to get the sustainability fisheries management, as already mentioned in the SDGs, for example, social, economic, political. That are those two dimensions right now, as we are in this situation, that we really also need to focus and more providing attention to them. The third actually principle that I would like to discuss with you about the increased participation. This is something probably in somehow people thinks that they do not need this kinds of how the community would get involved. But participation is the central of the process to reach the a good fisheries management. So as the ecosystem approach, the community needs to be get involved. You cannot say that you would like to to ignore everything related to the fishery sites in the sea, but in somehow also you think that you need it. So increase participation, one things that we have to do right now, and try to now try to socialize, make it as a part of our campaign to see how the community can providing us a lot of things, information, and then contribution in order to reach the sustainability fisheries management. Finally, we come to the end our lectures today. As I already mentioned, related to the ecosystem approach of fisheries management, I stated seven principles, but of course we because of the limit of the time for our meeting today, I just mentioned three principles to you all students to know in terms of the fisheries management. But the most important things that you have to underline related to the ecosystem approach of the fisheries management, that's how the stakeholders being involved get involved in this area. We do not only thinking about the fishers and then fishers association. We do not thinking only for the government side. We do not thinking about the compliance and then enforcement agency, other uses like tourism, ports, and another stakeholders related, and then of course the external agents. Why I have to mention about the many stakeholders? Because explain about those ecosystem approach of fisheries management will connect to them. So that's why my detailed explanation related to the many stakeholders you can find out in the Sicola. As I already mentioned, that I will put all my material in the Sicola, so you can see how those stakeholders plays their important roles in right to the fisheries management, and then find out in the Sicola. Also, student, I already put some materials, reading materials for you in order to add some knowledge and then information related to the ecosystem approach of fisheries management. And I do hope this is really important and then helpful for you in this material. Thank you, and then see you next week.